you can match her skill level with her tenacity, is what I'm saying.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Weekend Warrior Show, presented to you by MMA Torch. I'm Rhys Lawrence, and joining me as always is Chief Editor of the Torch, Sean Covington. In today's episode, we're going to be recapping UFC London, which was truly remarkable, probably the best ever UK MMA show in history. Stellar performance from pretty much everyone on the card. I think it was 7-3 overall for the British fighters. Everyone turned up. Dana White, president, was there. Eddie Hearn, Matchroom promoter, was there. All the top boxers in this country came to a UFC event, which they don't normally do. Footballers, celebrities, you name it, they were all there in the O2 arena. And me and Sean are going to be discussing all of it today on this episode. It was always going to be special, Sean. We were talking about it last week. Being away for 3 years, and the UFC comes back to a country, we've talked about this, of the fans, the atmosphere that they can generate here in the UK, just because obviously it is more special to us that we don't get to see it so often as, Americans and other places in the world. And, you really did see that. It was pretty much 3/4 full as soon as the card came on television. I think it was at 6 p.m. UK time, and it was already packing in, and it was just an incredible atmosphere building to the main card and main event, Tom Aspinall and Volkov, which we're going to talk about in a second. But just a great card. I mean, it'd be interesting, I obviously here in the UK, watching it here and hearing from people in the industry here how sort of excited they were and happy that the event went so well. But just, Sean, before we talk about the actual fighter, just give me your thoughts on like how it looked as a spectacle when you were watching, because it felt different. A lot of people were saying it felt a bit like a pay-per-view with the amount of excitement and buzz and things. But for, an American who perhaps, obviously not really speaking from your perspective because you know these fighters and this is what you do, but just perhaps maybe giving me it from what an American would look at it as seeing this amazing card with such hype from a British perspective. But give me it from yours, please.
It was even better than what I thought it was going to be. I was pretty sure it was going to be great. And it was weird because I was jealous. We were talking about it, and I was like, man, we talked about the fandom and everything and how great it is, and, how UFC doesn't really capitalize on it or create that atmosphere in other places. And I was jealous because I was like, man, we're not going to have that passion and enthusiasm for an American card. I mean, you could say, oh, it's because we got so many of them, but that's not it. It's because of the way the fandom is, because, you got soccer in other countries is on 24/7, like no matter what, and everybody loves everything about it all the time. So it's not that. It's not like people are fatigued on it. It's just that it made me feel bad about the rest of the year because you're not really going to top that card. I mean, I don't care who's fighting for what title. I don't care. They don't market cards well enough. They don't market them enough. Period. Like, not only is the quality of the marketing poor, but then they don't even have a market that they're targeting. They don't have a target market with what they're doing. So, I love the card. That's what I'm saying. It's probably gonna be it's not gonna be top. So I just felt bad in that way. But yeah, I mean, watching the card, I mean, we got a lot to discuss. It was everything I said it was gonna be in terms of, I said, man, there's some rock stars on here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you definitely did. You were, and for everyone listening, it was obviously being a Brit and seeing, in boxing in this country as well, the atmospheres that they produce at some football stadiums, the soccer for you guys, and so I'm very aware of how special fight nights can be in this country and the differences they have. But it was actually Sean that sort of brought this up last week before we were going to preview UFC London and just sort of talk about the difference between the fans and you brought up a lot of good points about why and what is the reason behind the difference. We were talking about it off air there, just about the at times it can be challenging to understand why you would pay so much for pay-per-views when you can watch similar things. Sean mentioned WWE Network, and you watch a fight night like that and you think, oh, that was better than probably most of the pay-per-views you've seen this year. I mean, you look at some January, February, March pay-per-views for the UFC, specifically we're talking about that right now. That was up there with any of them, just because all the fights delivered pretty much every one of them finished in a round. So much excitement, a lot of winners on the right side from a UK perspective, and you just think, God, that had a pay-per-view energy to it. And we'll like Sean said, we'll try and get through everything today because there was a lot to discuss. But we'll go right to the main event, Sean. Volkov was for Tom Aspinall the toughest opponent to date, certainly in my opinion, before the fight, and being the guy that's fought so many top ranked guys, been around for a while, very difficult with his size and his reach and his striking abilities, and Tom being very fast and athletic for his size as well. You thought this could be a really good fight. It ended up being very, very one-sided, and I mean, in my opinion, what I got from it, Sean, I don't know about you, but I sort of felt like Volkov folded a little bit. It was always that argument to say, well, did one guy just look really good or did the other guy fold? And I always struggle with that. But yeah, Volkov looked a shell.
It was an away game for him. It was
Yes.
away game. It was an away game for him, and like that crowd played to. That's the crazy part about it, man. Like it was almost unfair, to be honest. It's a fight, so like I don't know why you care about the crowd. Like you should be trying to, rip this person's throat out. That's what you should be paying attention to, killing them. But people say winning a fight, like that's why a lot of people lose fights because they're not trying to kill the person. Like you should be trying to knock his head off and kill him. Because if you do that, well, the fight's over, and then you can go and do what else you want to do after that. And you could tell that wasn't at all what he was thinking, at all. How could it have been? It was, the thought process was, damn, how am I going to get out of here with a W? And you could tell, you could read his face. You could tell that. It's not that it was a fear. It was the saying goes, the lights were too bright for him or something like that, or it stage fright. It happens in fights. It really does, because you go up there and it's not just like your regular. What was the last crowd? This whatever center. Damn. Do you know what I mean? What's the place where they usually have the UFC fights? Was like nobody there.
In Vegas?
Yeah. What's the name of that place?
The Apex. Yeah.
Yeah, the Apex. Like there's nobody in the Apex. Like in the Apex, you're not gonna get stage fright, But you go out, you in another country, you on someone else's home turf, and it's a fight. It's crazy. Imagine being in a real fight. And yeah, sorry guys, UFC has a ref and a cage. It's not a real fighting. Okay. I know I'm gonna get a lot of people coming at me for that, but I don't give a damn. That's too bad. A real fight doesn't have a referee in it that's gonna stop you from being murdered. Okay. But you go into that atmosphere and it starts to dawn on you that it's more than just a fight. Like if it were a quote unquote real fight and your opponent had home field advantage, like imagine that. Like if somebody's family members out there watching, and you about to fight somebody's brother and his cousins and mama and daddy's there and cheering them on, kicking your ass. That's weird. That's super weird. So if when you put it in that context, when you have that perspective, because that's exactly what happened, there's no way you're really gonna get out of that fight, is it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the fights not without a referees aren't real fights. You're right. You're going to have a lot of people coming after you for that. But what you're saying it technically is true.
I tell you what. I tell you what. They can bring a referee and then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Or I could just kick the ass outside of my house and beat them to death. That's what would happen. I mean, that's just what it is. Like, I respect the sport, but it's a sport and there's technique involved. There's no real technique when you're fighting someone for real. It's don't get killed or kill him. There's no technique involved in how you survive, Anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so, we've sort of agreed there that Volkov definitely, but did fold in some ways. He didn't look the Volkov of what we've seen recently, even, and obviously his biggest flaw is his inability to stop takedowns. Curtis Blades, obviously a great wrestler, so you could probably excuse that, but Tom Aspinall just took him down with such ease, and I don't know, from Volkov it's like it's a very talented fighter, but at the same time big holes, and yeah, there was for me a massive element of him folding there, but don't take away the credit from Tom Aspinall though, because
he's not Volkov. He's not a main event guy. And it just is what it is. That's fine.
Volkov,
I mean,
Volkov,
yeah. Sorry. Yeah, he's not a main event guy. And it happens. Who last week were we talking about? Thiago Santos, right?
Yeah.
He's not a main event guy. It happens. It's okay. I mean, we shouldn't be like upset about it. It happens. I mean, we should be upset that a fighter isn't quite up to the potential we want, but it is what it is. He's not a main event guy, but we got a main event result out of it, so that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, I think you're right. Maybe Volkov shouldn't. I mean, he's got the talent, but you're right. With just talent isn't enough to be a main event, especially on a card like that where it felt more than just a fight night. And Tom Aspinall, there was for me massive question marks going in, not on his ability. He's so skillful for the guy at his height, his size, the speed he has, and the skills that he possesses. There's no question on that. For me it was he until Saturday night he had not fought in front of fans in the UFC, and to do your first fight in front of fans, headlining the first show back in the UK with 17 to 18,000 people in there, huge pressure. I mean, and the guy he was fighting was so much better than the guys that he's fought in terms of rankings and what public opinion was of Volkov before that fight, until he made it look so easy. And there's obviously been a lot of talk about Tom Aspinall now following his performance. A lot of people get obviously a little not carried away, but just like caught in the moment of how good he looked and sort of saying, well, what's next? And for me, obviously, I feel confident that he will become one of the top contenders in this division. I liked Tom saying himself that he didn't feel like he was at the level of the top guys yet in his last fight, and he wants to fight a few more times, well, at least a few more times before he starts fighting the big guys. But then obviously now with this win and calling out Tai Tuivasa, that's right at the top. Obviously Tai Tuivasa.
Yeah, he shouldn't have done that.
I mean, it was
off more than he could chew.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, like you said, he looked really good, and we shouldn't get carried away with ourselves. And I think he did do that, especially that was his first fight in front of people. In a crowd like that, in other words, he's bought into his own hype. And that was the only thing he could do wrong, was buy into his own hype. But he did. And he probably going to eat those words. I don't think he should, because he won't have home field advantage next time. You know, he won't. He might get in the apex and just get massacred. We don't know. It looks like it might happen though. I kind of feel like that's he's gonna headline he's gonna main event a fight night with Tuivasa and probably get his lights turned off. And then here's the thing: when you go to, nobody understands this. Well, I'm sorry. People don't understand how important it is that you don't go too far or climb that ladder too high, too fast. Because if he loses, there's no way to go but down. You know, he's not going to be fighting more top guys. They could give him more top guys if he loses, but like, for what? Now he's just going to be fed to people to not pad their stats, but kind of. So he could end up really hurting his career with a loss, in his next fight. So we'll see. That's a big no for me. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because it's like, you imagine winning that in the way he did in front of all those fans and things, and then just calling out like, a guy that's ranked like below Volkov. It just doesn't make sense. But
yeah,
he's
not a Conor McGregor. He doesn't have the personality to match that. He's not a megastar. Like it'd be different if he was this guy. Oh man, he's not even Diego Sanchez. Like, let's be for real. Like, he's not. Diego Sanchez can sell fights. That's what we need. He's not going to sell his fight like that. I mean, the guy's skilled. He's talented. We all like him. But it's a little bit more than just that. It's something very important. It's something we talk about a lot on this show. It's about having that star quality, that star factor, being more than just that athlete and being a personality that can be branded. And if he had that, then calling out Tai Tuivasa would be fine. But he's not there yet. Tuivasa's there. We were talking about him. See, he called him out. That's why he's there, because he's been at the top. He's been doing this. Aspinall, I don't know, man. I mean, we'll see. Maybe he'll change after this fight for the better. We don't know. But right now, it's he shouldn't have done it. It might come back to haunt him. But let's go back to the good stuff about the card.
Yeah. We'll see what's next for Tom. He's a great fighter, and hopefully, should he fight Tuivasa next, he gets the victory. Very tough fight that would be with the power of Tuivasa, but we'll see where it goes. Let's just work our way down chronologically. Arnold Allen, Dan Hooker. Arnold Allen, probably like a Tom Aspinall, probably even less known in the US, but on a crazy run in the featherweight division, and took on the best. I don't know, because he's had some great wins against great guys, but he took on Saturday night the most notable name in the biggest venue and stage of his career, under the brightest lights, and for me had to win to not just progress his career in terms of going on to, he's very high in the rankings, get that title shot soon, but just I felt like he was definitely, you look at all these people on the card and you think no one would have been talking about Arnold Allen because of Paddy Pimblett and whatnot. So it was a really good win for him, and on the other side, a very devastating loss considering the record as of late for Dan Hooker. I mean, it's a good fight, wasn't it, Sean? For how long it lasted?
Yeah, Hooker's toast, man.
I mean, before you sort of like go what you're going to say of Hooker, is there an element of understanding of considering the circumstances behind Hooker, like in the way he's lost in his fights, like with the travel and the like COVID things that have happened, and he's not had an easy road in between these fights as well, or should we
Right.
not count sort of outside factors to a record?
No, we should count him. And I'm not saying he's toasted in a bad way. I
No,
wasn't gonna go like
yeah,
annihilate him. I wasn't gonna do that. I was just saying like it looks like he's just burned out. It happens, man. Like I suggest people change their camps. Somebody like Dan Hooker would be able to take his time and get to where he needs to with the giant support group and always know that they would be there, you know? And that would be the most important thing with having some sort of central place where everyone trains. Also, I think you get really, really well-rounded fighters, you know, like everybody would be so good. Maybe they'd all be too nice with each other, I guess, but I don't know about that. Maybe it wouldn't make for good fights or fighters. I don't know, but it would help when it comes to not burning with fighter fatigue, you know, and like getting back to where you need to be because your coaches would be used to everyone and they'll know how to specifically, you know, you wouldn't be able to just go to just your coach. You could go to a number of people who could help you out, all part of the same facility that's there and in place to get you back on track and keep you on track and where you want to be. So that's where Dan Hooker would benefit from that. That's pretty much what it is. You're a team of one, you know. You're a team of one. It's a sport, but it's only you competing. Everybody forgets that. They need a team of people who support them. Yes, I know they have trainers and all this stuff, but it needs to be on a much larger scale. You know, like if you're part of the Denver Broncos, you have the entire organization, or the Yankees, you have the entire organization, but not just that entire organization. You also have the MLB. You know, you have another organization that you're a part of that will also help you out. They just have their small camps, very small camps, the gym they fight out of, and what does UFC do for them? Pay them like shit and make sure they can't get any outside help, and then tell them to wear bad Reebok draws that nobody cares about. So I mean it's sad, but it's not going to be just. My point is it isn't just Dan Hooker. It's not just going to be him.
yeah.
It's not going to be him. He's not the first. He's not the last. It's going to be a whole lot more people.
Yeah, he's going through a bit of a bad run right now, and you're right. It's definitely he's not the first to have gone through a sticky situation, and especially with fighters that you look at a run of 4 or 5 fights, and you're like, whoa, what happened? And then
Diego Sanchez.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin Lee.
Yeah, it happened. It happened to him.
Yeah.
Yep.
They fought each other recently, and they've both gone through, more. I'd say more so Kevin Lee, because at least Diego at times showed the runs that he could put together, and showed,
Right.
We always knew that Diego probably wouldn't become, like a dominant champion or something, because perhaps of his fighting style and how likely he was to get hit and things. But we did recognize the greatness that he did produce, whereas a guy like a Kevin Lee, who has so much talent within him, but like we said about the way fights can go with outside factors, injuries, and changes of camps and travel issues, it all counts in ways. And for Dan Hooker right now, I think the best thing for Dan Hooker probably would be some time away, and he probably should have done that a few fights. I think perhaps after the Chandler fight, because the Poirier fight, he took loads of damage, didn't he? And it was a great fight, but there was a lot of damage in that fight. And then Poirier went on his way, and Dan Hooker went his. And that's no, fault of fighting a Dustin Poirier level guy. If you get, and it was a decision, so it was kind of close. Probably most had it 3-2, 4-1 Poirier, but from that way onwards, it's been difficult. The Michael Chandler was a bad loss. Then got back on the horse with Nasrat. But just overall, there seems to be something just missing. Perhaps you're right about the fire being burnt out. I think when you do all those fights so close after each other, all the travel away from family, it all counts to perhaps a lackluster of performance and just not really having it in you. And yeah, for Dan Hooker, it's going to be tough to get back to where he was, but he's still young enough, and hopefully we can see him back. But Sean, we've got to talk about this man. Just another sort of coming out party for Paddy Pimblett in his fight. Just, I mean, it's difficult to sort of explain it because only 2-3 years ago Paddy was perhaps unknown to most, which is crazy because he was making such noise in Cage Warriors, but that isn't global like the UFC, and now it's like all of a sudden this kid from Liverpool with a crazy haircut and a great fighting style has walked onto the scene, and he's yet been doing it for God knows how long. Not knockouts, submissions, crazy moments, great wins, and he had another one on Saturday. Give me your thoughts on the fight, him, the way the crowd reacted to him. Just a great moment for him.
It makes me wonder why UFC doesn't have like a just whole full UK division and just have shows all the time there. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense that they don't. Like, that's a lot of money over there that they could be making every week, and they're not doing it. It's like they utterly refuse to. He's a star, and that's a guy. I'm gonna go somewhere with this. So a lot of people don't like a lot of different belts, like in pro wrestling. But I would say, I'll say boxing, since people probably mad I say pro wrestling all the time. Boxing, there's nothing but titles. How come the UK division? How can there can't be a UK division of like NXT UK, right? How can there can't be a UK division of UFC and you just have titles? Like, just give them heavyweight, lightweight, everything. Like, give them their own everything and make money. And people would probably say, oh, well, we want that, then we wouldn't know who the true whatever. Who cares? It's about making money and putting on great fights. And we're not going to be able to see these people fight unless they're there. They're not just going to be flying out here all the time, especially with, the pandemic and how that's changed everything and how most of that is still going on. It's like, we haven't seen enough of Pimblett. We haven't. So how do you combat that is what I'm saying. I'm saying you combat it by having a full division. And not just because it is one fighter, obviously, it's because of this entire card. Does this card not inspire in you that you would love to see, that you would definitely support seeing something like this every week?
I think instead of a whole complete division, which would be a great idea, I just don't think it would be deep enough. But
maybe once a month, maybe. Sorry.
What you're saying is right, though. I mean, you've seen backstage after the fights, Dana telling pretty much every one of the winners that we're coming back here this year, and which I think, although it might have been a bit of a heat of the moment type thing, not that I'm doubting it, I just mean that, had that card not gone as good as it did, there wouldn't be we're coming back here this year. But obviously, because obviously the scheduling and the way the UK has been interacted into the UFC the last few years, it's been once a year, normally in March. But now with COVID issues in certain places, the UFC are looking to go to countries that have, relatively no COVID mandates, so that it's much easier to post events. And obviously the UK, although there is some, it's quite, you've seen it on Saturday, all those fans and things. So there is an access to having events in the UK, and I think you're right. I'd imagine perhaps closer to the end of the year they'll come back. I can't really see it in the summer, but if it is, that'd be great. Paul Craig, who we're going to talk about later, called out Anthony Smith for a card in June. So perhaps he may know something else that we don't right now. That he's not really just saying that, but yeah, another card this year in the UK would be brilliant. And I think for going forward, like you said, there definitely needs to be more cards in the UK. And you know, speaking of Paddy Pimblett, Sean, you know, he's talking about a few more fights before he starts fighting guys in top 15, considering his contract and things. And obviously that'll be a bit of a PR stunt as well. But you know, you get Paddy Pimblett on a rise like a Conor McGregor, where he goes on a 7 to 8 fight win streak. You give him guys that perhaps feed that train going forward, which it's nothing new. Doesn't mean he doesn't get credit for what he wins against, who he wins against, but inevitably he wants a fight in his city, in Anfield and Liverpool. They're one of the biggest clubs, football clubs, soccer clubs in the world, and that could be just huge night. And before, it was probably so unrealistic just because of, I'd say, the lack of interest, not from UK fans, but from the UFC and an American perspective of the success a UK show could have. You know, we've seen it in Australia with Izzy and things, but they don't traditionally do it too often. You know, the safety blanket is America and Vegas, and you know, well, predominantly Vegas. But yeah, just how do you feel? I mean, obviously, you know, you're a fan. I'm a fan of Paddy. Think he's great. Think he is a star, rising star. It was another great performance from him. But how did you view him from sort of that star perspective? Take away the performance that he had, but just like the interaction with fans and what you think he can do in the next few years in the UFC.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, it was definitely like pro wrestling, man. You know, he didn't have to cut a promo. Imagine Stone Cold, like, you know, when the crowd's eating out of the palm of his hand. You know, like he was singing half the time. You know, he just it's rare to have such a fan base and a star quality like that. And you need to capitalize on it. I think he should start fighting top guys immediately. Hey, gets his ass knocked out, he gets knocked out. He's a fighter. I mean, you know, like this, that's never going to change. People are like, oh, maybe he needs to ease up. Oh, you know, they didn't do that with Conor McGregor. They just let him challenge for the belt after he beat Dennis Seaver. And I was like, yo, he's super, like, he's not tested, okay, at all. But you're going to start giving him title shots? So why not do it with Paddy Pimblett? You know, why not? I don't see why we shouldn't do that. He is star quality. He isn't on a level as Conor McGregor, but where he is, sure. You know, why not? I mean, if you got a guy that could get a crowd to react like that, then you need to go all in with them. They should go. The UFC should really be pushing them. And we talked about this a little bit. I think it was a couple weeks ago before we even talked about the card. I just mentioned it. I was just saying, like, man, you know, like, when are they going to give him the star treatment? When are they going to act? When are they going to just stop feeding them people? And, oh yeah, he made us some money over there real quick, and now we're not going to consider him for anything else. You know, when I want to know when they were going to start to give this guy what he deserves, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. But it's time. I don't want to say it's now or never. How old is he again?
Paddy is, let me just double check. I think I want to say 25.
Oh, well, yeah, it's not now or never, but
sorry, 27. Sorry, yeah, 27.
But yeah, put your foot on the gas, man. I mean, you need to do it now, because if he fails, he's gonna need 5 years. It is crazy to say that, but he's gonna need, like, if he failed, he would need a good 5 years to get back to where he is. You know, so because I mean, that's not a lot of fights if you think about it. It really isn't. How many fights does a typical fighter have a year? One, right?
I'd probably say two.
Maybe two. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't typically happen like that. It's weird. I'm gonna go with one, but that's 5 fights. That's not a lot. If he loses his next fight, then let's say they just shoot him up there, right? They just say, okay, you're gonna start fighting some real top guys, and he loses. The next fight. Let's say they fight in June. No, not June. I'm sorry. Let's say they come back to the UK in August. Okay. Or maybe even well, whenever they said they were gonna come back this year, right? Let's say they come back in November. Doesn't really matter when it is, as long as it's within this year. He fights in November, he loses. He's gonna need some time, so he's gonna need to take some time off. But in doing so, he's gonna need to fight probably easier competition because he'll be rushed too quickly. That's what we'll get out of that. And it just takes so long when you lose to get back. Look at Dan Hooker. How many fights has he had since he fought Poirier?
Yeah, probably like I think 4 maybe.
That's too many. Like that's
the crazy schedule he's had in the last,
like that's why you were saying he needs time off because he does. It was just that's way too much. Like if Paddy Pimblett could fit in his fights, like if he could, but see Dan Hooker, he's a loser right now. He's been losing. That's the problem. Like that's why you need to take years to do it. Like Paddy Pimblett has time, but they need to go. It's not now or never, but they need to treat it like it's now or never. It's now or 5 years from now. Which somebody told you can be a star now, or 5 years from now, you're gonna pick now. So they need to just put their foot on the gas with him.
Yeah, I mean, Paddy's got such potential, not just in UFC, but just as an athlete. If marketed in the right way, especially from a British perspective, he might struggle to cross over fully because of the way in which he is as a person, is his accent and things like that. Obviously, it's not that difficult where you can understand what he's saying and things, but it's just there might be a little bit of a gap there. But you look at McGregor, who speaks, is Irish. He's got that accent as well, where I think that plays into it a little bit, just that difference. If they were probably British, it doesn't quite, Irish and Scousers and people from Liverpool. It's a different sort of type of person that they traditionally are in fighting, and that shows in both of those guys. I mean, the comparisons are probably premature considering the difference in where they're at right now, but you got to start somewhere, and Paddy's definitely starting with a bang in the UFC. It was quite a similar performance actually to his debut with Rodrigo Vargas in that card on Saturday, where he got clipped early. Sort of seems like he slipped a little bit on the back foot when he got hit. But like you said before, you can't knock him out, and it feels like he is that type of fighter, and that's probably why he's getting backed as well, where he welcomes the fire of a fist fight before what he can do to his opponent. The sort of fireworks that could be both negatively and of course positively for him, but dominant in the end, got the submission, good interview as well, and great stuff from him in the post-fight press conference as well, talking about what he's going to do for charities and using his profile for good. He's just a overall great person and great fighter. And
how did he win again? What submission? Was it the rear naked choke?
Yeah, it was rear naked. It was up against the cage, and he slid down the cage a little bit and just cinched it in. He was just waiting for that lower arm to get cinched under the neck, and once he got it, Vargas just,
I'll say this about rear naked chokes. When people win by that, that's a mistake. Always a mistake made by the other fighter. It's not that you won, it's that they definitely made a mistake that cost them. I've seen the best fighters lose rear naked choke. If you make a mistake and you lose via rear naked choke, you messed up real bad. But that doesn't make you a great fighter by winning by rear naked choke. So I know I just thought about something. I was like, well, I don't always take the time to analyze specifics about fights, right? Because it's more so about what we're getting out of it. It's just enjoyment for us. We analyze though. I want to analyze the fact that a rear naked choke is not. It's not. This is not something to be proud of, but it's kind of like you just picked something up that someone else dropped. Had they not dropped it, you wouldn't have been able to pick it up. So that rear naked choke is because you're so skilled, and that's where we might come into a problem with a Paddy Pimblett. That was easily the rear naked choke is always on the opponent. It's never you doing something so great. They always get your back. It happens in the same way every time. And think about it. Just think about, or go back and look at tape of rear naked chokes. Every one always happens the same. It's something the opponent did, and then they immediately lose that position. And the fights, the fights just, what am I trying to say? The fight is, I lost my train of thought. I didn't lose my train of thought. Wait. I'm crashing here. I'm gonna have to make you do some work on the editing this time. But a rear naked choke, like I was saying, is something. If you win by it, it's just kind of a gimme fight. It's kind of a throwaway. It's nothing you can get better from. There's no, oh man, work on your jab, or my jab was crisp or something. Like, no, like this is literally just okay, you won the fight. There's nothing to it. So Paddy Pimblett is actually hurt by this fight. He didn't learn anything new. He didn't learn anything new about himself, except, I mean, he figured out what we always know, that he's a star. But we've always known that. So that doesn't help him at all going forward. And he should be looking at being as dominant as possible, as technical as possible, because if he's going to fight top people, then he's really going to have a tough time if he believes they're going to make a mistake to where he can capitalize with a rear naked choke. I'm telling you, he's just going to have a really tough time if he isn't constantly improving. This fight didn't help him at all. It didn't. Like, it was literally not a real fight for him. The guy messed up. That was it. So anybody thinking, oh man, he was impressive, he was dominant. Yes, he was dominant, but that's due to the fact that his opponent messed up. So we really need to pump our brakes about what actually is going on here. So that's my technical analysis and takeaway from it. And if you win via rear naked choke, it's a throwaway. I want to get to Molly McCann. I want to get to that. I don't even know if that was the next fight on the card, but I don't care. I'm skipping one. I'm skipping one or two. I don't care. I want to get to that fight. I don't want to get to that fight, actually. We'll talk about that fight later. She can't fight top people like that. Okay? She can't. She fought the same way Juliana Pena did, right? If she fought that way against someone at the top, she would have just got head kicked and knocked out. So I don't want to see her doing that again. But we were discussing this as the fight was going on. What is she ranked at? I think she's 29th. No, she's 28th, right? Ranked 28th in the women's flyweight division. Okay. Now, let's see some of the names above her, man. She's 12-4. Okay. Sajara Eubanks is 7-7, ranked at 23. What the hell are we doing? That's it. There's more on this list. I went 6 spaces up, and I'm already appalled. I'm already disgusted. Okay, like, I don't really like Molly McCann like that. I mean, I like her, but my problem is this: the UFC kind of They don't promote the right people. They don't do the right things, and they put the wrong people in the wrong places. Like, okay, they were right to put her on this card, obviously, but
Yeah.
they're not giving us what we want in terms of star quality and power from her. Sajara Eubanks, I want to start cursing. I'm not gonna do that, but ew, like no. I mean, 7-7. Come on, man. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. You let me know when you get disgusted. You look it up to, um, um, Miranda Maverick, 10-4. She's got the same amount of losses, two less wins. Whatever. I mean, I know it's more to it, but Jessica I ranked 14. She's 15-10. Let's just go. Let's right there. Let's talk about that. Why does she have a job? Why? Like, for real? After she got edited, they should have said goodbye. Goodbye. So, they should have never talked to her again. I would not pick up the phone. I know that sounds bad, man, but like, this ain't for everybody. Go ahead.
I think, people probably get a little confused of what you're saying. I understand where you're coming from. Sean's a fan of Molly McCann. Of course I am as well, being UK guy. But and she had that knockout, for all it wasn't against an elite fighter, it's still
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And they're saying knockout of the year and things, and the only problem I have is where, like, people are already saying it's the best female knockout ever. Like, I always take into account who they're fighting. It's like, the GOAT debates and all these type of debates where you say
she wasn't a pushover. I mean, she got blitzkrieged in the first round. Like, it should have. Yeah. Well, yeah, it should have been over then when she was getting mauled. It should have been over. She's getting destroyed, but she didn't lose then. So I don't want to take away from her, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, I just don't want to go too far with that. But yeah, I look at the opponents too. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was great. First of all, we're talking about Molly McCann here. What a night for her. I think she really deserved that. She's had a film come out recently in this country, produced by BT Sport. Great job there, and it tells a good story of someone that's pushed through hard times with a lot of decisions, and not just fighter decisions, but just life decisions and things that have not gone her way, and now it seems like she got her moment, and that will never be topped for her. That a knockout the way it was in her home country with that crowd that was there, it won't be topped. But obviously, we're talking about the level of an opponent she's fighting, the level that she's at herself, the girls around her that she's fought against, and we're here, we're honest here on the Weekend Warrior, where we say things. Yeah, I mean, you look at the.
I don't think she's trash without saying she's trash. It's like she's fighting.
She's not. I don't think she is. I just think the level of the level that she's fighting at isn't equivalent to the fighter level at some of the top girls in her division. She's not even ranked. Like, she's not ranked.
Here's an easy one. Would you like to see her fight Jessica I?
I don't want to see Jessica I. I don't want to see Jessica I fight ever.
Right.
So
right. Jessica I has 3 losses. That's the last 3 fights with Jennifer Meyer, Joanne Calderwood, and Cynthia Cavillo. All losses, right? All losses. All decision losses. So you wasted my time too. You made me sit through your fight. I want to see Molly McCann knock her out. Why not?
And she probably could as well.
I want to see Jessica in a fight, but I want to see her lose it. That's too bad. Look, this is entertainment. I don't want Jessica to hear this and be like, blah, blah, blah. Shut up and stop losing fights. Be better at your profession, okay? Okay? Just do that. This is your job for now. That's bad. This is your job until they call you or don't call you. But like, this is your job. Do better than Molly McCann is doing. Okay? You're ranked higher than her. If nobody knew any better, they would say everybody above Molly McCann is better, right? That's how it looks. That's how the rankings are supposed to tell this story. But they don't. And then, boy, oh boy, let me keep going up. Because I'm not done. I'm not done, right? Cynthia Calvillo is ranked 11th, and she has 3 straight losses to Andrea Lee, TKO, Jessica Andrade, TKO, and Caitlin Chukagian, who always decisions everybody. Ew, what are we talking about, bro? If you got 3 straight losses, you should. I'm sick of you even being ranked. I shouldn't. What's Dan Hooker ranked? Yep. I'm gunning for people's jobs right now. Everybody should be fighting. But let's talk about the level of fighter you actually are if you losing 3 straight fights. I'm feeding you to people that need to move up. Because guess what? You're on your way down, and it's a cold world, kid. But you're about to get knocked out again for cold hard cash, and we need to make some money off of you. Either you're going to start kicking people's asses, or they're going to continue to kick yours. And I need to see how to make money with that. This isn't about just you. This is a business, and we need to make money off of. Dan Hooker doesn't make money anymore. I mean, what's he doing? Listen, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little excited. What's he doing, though? He's getting knocked out for money? He's losing for money. Tell Dan Hooker this. You are a loser right now. And you were losing. You're getting beat up for cash. Come on, dog. This is where people like Jorge Masvidal have it. This is where they did it. If he's going to get beat up for money, he's going to talk all the trash in the world he can and get money elsewhere too. He's going to make money with his mouth. That's what he's going to do. He's going to talk trash, but he's going to peddle that and say, yeah, man, he's selling fights. You know, Dan Hooker ain't selling fights. He's getting talked into him. He's getting sold on fights. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's happening. And I'm serious about that. Dan Hooker is getting sold on fights. Yeah, man, you should fight him. For what? Get Jessica I, Cynthia Calvillo, and hold on, who else? Macy. No. Macy Barber just won. She won her last fight against Miranda Maverick. But okay, see, as I go towards the top, guess what? People aren't losing like that anymore. Don't that make sense? But the 1 second. The 11th ranked, just outside the top 10. 11th ranked women's flyweight in the UFC is 9-4 and has 3 straight losses. We want to talk about who they fought, and yeah, she fought some tough people. That's not my fault. I mean, she's supposed to be at the top, right? But if I'm looking at Molly McCann, how come I can't swap spots with them? How come I can't do that? Like, what's the rule against that? Oh, she fought nobody, so she's beating nobodies. Let her fight Jessica I. Let's see if she's really a nobody, right? That's what these fights are for. Now, if you're Jessica I, you say, I'm not taking that fight. I'm ranked, blah, blah, blah. It's like, hey, man, we should release you, okay? You need to take the next person we put in front of you. It could be your dog. You need to fight your dog. If I say, hey, you know, she's got a terrier or something like that, it's like, well, you got to fight your terrier or you're out of the company. Fight it. Fight the dog. It doesn't matter who Jessica I fights. She just needs to do it. No matter who she
For everyone not, well, you'll be able to hear that quite clearly. My dog is wanting to make an appearance on the podcast. You know, Sean's got his own huskies in the last couple of weeks, and I've had a crazy Jack Russell. Like, you've just been talking about terriers. How coincidental was that? You know?
No, man. I was like, man, is that a sound effect? Like, I was like, man, when did you start getting sound effects, man? No, it's crazy though. But like, am I wrong in that? Now, I know there's an obvious look at who she fought. I get that. But am I wrong in saying, hey, why can't she fight Jessica I and start a real rise to the top? Molly McCann, I'm saying, like, why come Molly McCann? fight her
you're
and start something.
you know, you're talking. Sean's talking here about something he's quite like not passion, sort of passionate about. Where he's talking about a fighter that perhaps gets a lot of, I wouldn't say unwarranted credit for the fights, but you're right. It's like Molly McCann, more of the reputation and personality that shines through over the actual fighting ability, and that's why she was on the main card. That's why she is talked about as one of the best fighters in Britain, and that's more on personality. And for me, when she picked up the belt after the win, yes, heat of the moment, and
I love that. That was great.
it was, but at the same time, it was very, for me, it felt like just, you're not even in the top 15. And like you said,
yeah, it was a little amateur hour, but I'm okay with that. But then, you know why? You know why she's not ranked? Because UFC just chooses not to. I'll tell you who she needs to fight. This is gonna sound crazy to you. It is. But guess what? You don't okay, either she can fight Jessica I, ranked 14th, or the person ranked 13th, which would be a crazy fight. Macy Barber. Oh my God. Yes, that's a fight I want to see. I mean, honestly, I feel like they should have fought off. But yeah, Macy Barber, fight her then. I said you beat up Jessica I, waste her, get her out of here, and then fight Macy Barber. They keep trying to make Macy Barber a thing. Beating Molly McCann would help quite a bit. That's somebody you take the win out of her sails, coming off of such a knockout. Guess what? That's going to make Macy Barber look a little bit better. They're not really trying to build any fighters up. They're not. They just kind of let people do their thing, and that's the problem with UFC. But okay. Number Cynthia Cavillo, Macy Barber, and Jessica I need to do something. They need to fight. They should probably fight each other. Why not? Have they fought each other? I don't know. Has Macy Barber and Jessica I fought each other?
Let me check. But
hell is Macy Barber beating this? She's got 9 wins.
The hard thing with Macy is obviously with the injury, and the Modafferi fight was like such a massive moment, mainly down to obviously the injury, that you think, what's happened with her? It's a big prospect, and you're right. I mean, Molly McCann, we're talking about her here, the win that she just had. It's difficult because I keep coming back to, she's not ranked, and it's like you're watching with a build-up and thing. It's like you are watching someone that was one fight away from a title shot, and it's just the complete opposite. And for me, it's difficult to work out sort of why.
Dennis Seaver, and then was just like, okay, yeah, he's gonna fight for one more fight, and then he's getting the title shot. What? Where did Conor McGregor actually come from? That he just fought Dennis Seaver, and all of a sudden Dennis Seaver was the benchmark for who's gonna get a title shot. What? That was so weird to me. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, we're just gonna shoot him to the top, huh? I was like, okay, that's fine. I mean, John Jones worked his way to the top at least. I hate him, can't stand him, but he worked his way to the top. Macy Barber, they keep trying to make a thing, got beat down when she fought real competition. That's what happened. We knew that was coming. Everybody knew it was coming. The UFC hoped and prayed it wouldn't, but nah, we knew that was gonna happen. And but my thing is, man, look, you got these people that are ranked that ain't doing a damn thing for anybody except just being there. And I love being in the UFC. They probably somewhere right now wearing a UFC t-shirt in the Starbucks writing about being in the UFC or something. I don't know. I'm saying, what are they doing? They're not in the gym getting any better because they got them 3 fight losing streaks. So they're not getting any better. It's not that I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. It's just that this is your profession. You lost 3 times. You should be out of here. So what I propose and what they should do is, if in the UFC, it's okay. You got a 3 fight losing streak. Who is unranked that needs to fight you to move up? Or who, not just unranked, who's really on a roll but ain't really fought nobody because they finna fight you. Sometimes you need that. Who?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Who's on the roll? What division is Dan Hooker in? Real quick.
He moved to featherweight.
Okay. What's a featherweight that's on the rise that needs to fight someone of notoriety?
Probably. Oh God, who? Let me bring rankings up real quick.
It's easier to do it like that than it is to do it with Molly McCann. I understand that. Like, I get it. That's actually the problem and why she's not going to be able to fight somebody like Jessica Eye, right? Because she doesn't have any notable wins. This last one was pretty great, actually. So that's her notable win, right? Like, there's nothing jumping out at you besides her personality. Her tenacity is great, but that doesn't translate into, oh, you need to fight somebody at the top. I get that. I totally understand. However, there's a way you can parlay that into something, and that's the way I'm saying by saying, hey, Jessica Eye, you're pretty much trash. You're on your way out, and we're going to get some equity out of you. So you're going to go get beat up by Macy Barber or someone. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you've talked about a few things there, and just clearing up this Molly McCann sort of talk and general sort of importance there is to having, like you said, more than just reputation behind a fighter and obviously ability and things, but also just a feel for people that perhaps, when we take into account records and we take into account people on a rise and things, and just looking here, obviously Dan Hooker, not within the top 15, obviously, because of, the move down to lightweight, but, for Dan Hooker,
you said down to what?
Yeah, so Hooker will obviously being at lightweight and now down at featherweight. Yeah, it's difficult for him. He fought number 7 in Arnold Allen. So for Arnold Allen as well, it's like 9-0 in the UFC, but his last fight was against a guy unranked, but it's Dan Hooker. So there's things that take into account when there isn't rankings and there isn't records and guys on a run and stuff. But we're talking
Dan Hooker.
Yeah.
See what I mean? That's what he needs. That's what he wants. Absolutely. That's a great step. Dan Hooker would be a great step. And then after that, I don't know. Anybody else who wants to move up in the top 20, I guess. I mean, and I know you can say, oh, but that's kind of crazy. The top 20. Well, who gives a damn? Dan Hooker's just a punching bag at this moment. And if he doesn't like it, go out, change your account, start winning so that I can't say that about you. It's your profession, not mine. Well, go be a damn accountant. I don't care which one you do, but that is your fault. That is on you now. I'm just analyzing what you putting out there. You're losing, bro. I'm putting Molly McCann up in the spot. Like, if she could fight you, I'd have her fight you. That's what I would do. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, here's the thing. Here's my problem, and then we can move on. I'm gonna shut up after this. Dan Hooker is a guy I heard people for years. Yeah, man, Dan Hooker, blah, 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 blah. What was so damn special about him? I got sick of it. And I kept my mouth shut for years. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. He never stood out to me. I was like, look, man, in my head, I'm like, look, this guy's not that special. You're going to find out when he fights somebody special. And we did. That's what we know now, that he isn't special. And I want him to fight people who are a little bit better than he is so they could beat him and springboard. Use him as a springboard. I get sick when people hear their own, oh man, Dan Hooker. They hear their own press releases and all, they read all that stuff and they start to feel themselves and believe their own hype. And I know you're a fighter and I know you got to believe in yourself a certain amount, but I never believed in Dan Hooker. I didn't. And this is why. This is hard to say. It's hard to hear. But this is just the truth, man. I never believed in him. And he started fighting tough competition. That was it. Like, I believe in Molly McCann, but something about it. I love her attitude. I feel like her skill level can start to. There's some people you can teach. I believe like you can teach her. You can match her skill level with her tenacity. Is what I'm saying. I think Dan Hooker was on a certain level, on a certain path, and as soon as he hit roadblock, he was done. And that's what we're seeing now. That's what I personally believe is happening, though. Yes, there are other outside factors, like we discussed previously and earlier in the show. However, you want to know what the biggest factor is? The fact that he actually was never that good, and now he's seeing it. So you couple that with everything else, and like I told you in the beginning, he's toast. I didn't want to like destroy him like that, but he's toast because he fought better people. You saw what happened when someone non-UFC came in and just knocked him out. This is what happens.
So we're gonna round up the main card for UFC London. We won't get to everyone on the card fully, but obviously a quick shout out to Muhammad Makayev, a 21-year-old Brit who fought before we went on air on Saturday, who is 7-0 now and just a massive, massive prospect in the UK and could be another Hamzat Chimaev, another Islam Makhachev type dominant fighter.
Even a top 10 guy now.
Yeah.
Why not? It's ready to see what he's got. Let's see what he's got.
I mean, you say that laughingly, but the UFC don't play those games, do they? They'll throw people to the dogs over time, and which we as fans like to see at times, and sometimes we don't. But yeah, great win for him. Looking forward to seeing what he does. Apparently, he's wanting to fight in July in International Fight Week. So we'll see where that goes. Jack Shore with a 3-round decision win against Timur Valiev. Jack Shore, Welsh. Then moves to 16-0. Great fighter, great prospect again in the bantamweight division. And we will get to Paul Craig, who will round up our UFC London talk in a second. But firstly, Sean, we witnessed murder in the opening for the main card with Jai Herbert and Elia Topuria. I mean, Jai Herbert, we said beforehand, had pretty much no chance of beating Topuria, who's just a absolute savage. And to all of our surprise, I mean, there was a lot of moments I had a scream out moment to my TV where I was thought, oh my God, no way, where the Molly McCann or the Dan Hooker when he clipped Arnold Allen before Arnold Allen stopped him, and so many moments of sort of heart and mouth. But Topuria, his perfect punch knockout of Jai Herbert, following Jai Herbert in the first round with a sort of very surprising almost knockout in a way where drops Topuria. We never see that, and you're thinking, my God, could he do the upset, which would be a perfect place to do it. Unfortunately, he couldn't get it done, and Topuria came back with a ridiculous punch following the controversy of this week, him and Paddy going at it, and then him calling out Paddy in the post-fight interview and press conference. Just, I mean, when you saw that, that's pretty much as good as a punch you can throw, isn't it?
Yeah, it was perfect beginning. Oh my God, I did not say Amazon.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing. Can you say that again?
I wasn't talking to you, Amazon. Jesus. Anyway, sorry.
They always listening.
Man, it is always listening, but like I muted it. It should shut up now. No, it was a perfect start to a card, and I knew that's how that card was going to start. You can feel it. You can feel it. It was an energy to everything. When you're fighting, you got to be really careful about playing other people's games. This is a high energy card. You're the first fight on there, man. And I hate this, but if you ever you need to slow it down and you need to just point people to death, because what's gonna happen is you're gonna start your exchange, and you might get a couple in, but then you might, you're gonna be on the receiving end of some bad ones too. And like what happened with Reyes and Blachowicz. So you gotta be careful. You can kind of see that stuff coming when people go, hey, fight me like this. Don't ever fight like that in that sort of hostile environment. You know what I mean? Like you can't let the crowd work you up into doing something that's not in your best interest. But yeah, I loved it. I mean, it wasn't good for Herbert, but I loved it.
It was an amazing knockout, and a knockout where you think, had it been anywhere else, it would have been not respected, but more well received, shall we say. Topuria is just, he's one of those fighters where you think he really could have it all. And obviously I don't mean really in terms of marketability. Maybe he could become that, and with the trash talk of Paddy Pimblett, that'll boost his profile as well, should he get a fight with him, and the build up to that would be interesting as well. You could argue that could be instantly a main event on a fight night, with Paddy's power, and obviously Topuria's skill, and he's a very scary fighter, I think. For all that they're fighting at lightweight, you watch him and you think, God, you wouldn't want to fight him. You wouldn't want to be getting matched up with him. And I think Jai Herbert very courageously took that fight, probably just to get a fight scheduled on that card. And he probably, although he had some success early, you thought, oh, God, that's a very tough matchup, and it proved to be. But Sean, before we wrap up this UFC London talk, because as dominated as it probably should have done in our podcast today, but we'll get on to some other things quickly. But I just want to say some things quickly before I shift it to you. Paul Craig, Scottish UFC fighter, but for me especially, obviously being a massive fan of MMA and combat sports in general, it's natural for a person to look for people that represent their own country. Sean and all our viewers pretty much are blessed in that they can root for any fighter in the UFC they want, pretty much, because the majority are American. And yes, okay, some of the champions are dominated by European countries, but you've got a lot of choices to pick from in all divisions. And yes, you could pick from where you're from, California, New York, all these states where there's fighters everywhere. For us in the UK, to have right now the amount of UFC fighters that we do at the top level is pretty incredible. And for a country as small as Scotland to have not just one in terms of Paul Craig, obviously we've got the likes of Casey O'Neill, Joanne Calderwood as well, but to have a fighter represent our country that is at the level that Paul Craig is at it's something that I don't think has really been appreciated yet, and I think it will do soon, just due to the fact that this sport is becoming so. I mean, you've seen it this weekend. The growth that we've seen in the interest in this country for UFC and MMA in general has been crazy. You look at 3 years ago, Masvidal Till, and now where it's at this past Saturday, where it's just boomed in this country. It's been a big deal. We've seen the likes of Bisping headline shows in Manchester and things, but it's definitely become mainstream here. It's talked about, not obviously the level of what football is, it never will be, because that is such a dominant sport in this country, but it feels as big as it's ever done, and I'm glad that sort of these fighters are getting the recognition they do. But just touch on Paul Craig real quick. What not just a fighter, his style, the jiu-jitsu background, the ability to take punches and weather storms in fights, because he knows that once he grabs a person, it's over. He's just an all-round great person. I've spoke to him before. A great win for him. And for me, you look at the guy he's beat, Ankalaev recently, who everyone's claiming should be next for the title after Yuri Prochazka and Glover Teixeira take on each other. And you think he's beat him, he's beat Jamal Hill. It's like, I mean, what else? I'm not saying title shot next. I'm saying probably one more fight against the top 5 guy. Win that specifically, probably by submission,
why
which
not
he
title
likes to
shot
do.
next? Why
Pardon?
not title shot next?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, because you don't have to go so sequentially, and the reason for that is because there's injuries. So things happen,
Yeah.
If you had to go in order, you'd get the same 3 fights, in a row. Max Holloway should have fought again. I mean, he should have fought. I'm blanking on names today. It's okay, but he should have fought for the title a 3rd time, and like he should have fought again immediately.
Yeah, Volkanovski.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. He should have did that immediately if we're just going by who's next, because he was next. That's what it is. And if we're Kobe Covington should also fight for the title again, because that's who's next. You see what I mean? So you got to skip around a little bit. And it's good to do that, because sometimes these people are ready then, at that moment. So, yeah, you tell me, actually, why not a title shot next? Why not?
I just think not only is, let's do this real quick. The rankings and things. I just think overall, though, like, we were talking there about the difference between the UK and American perspective of things, fans and events, the specialty of fight nights and things, because obviously it felt so special here in the UK this Saturday as a comparison to the many Apex shows we get in America where they don't feel as special and things like that. And I think it's felt similarly with guys and girls in this country who are representing the UK, and they're perhaps not just well known in the US, but I get a sense that perhaps a lot of American fans don't particularly care too much. Paul Craig's, what probably was the main thing is that Paul isn't calling for the title shot himself. I think Paul sort of knows that, he, for all that he's had success, he's won 3 in a row against top guys. It's difficult where you think, do I just go right from, rank 9, 3 in a row to Glover Teixeira and Yuri Prochazka right at the top? I think there is still a little bit of a gap. You've got to remember the Ankalaev fight, for all that he won, it was literally like a second remaining with that submission, and for not that, he would have lost the fight. So we sort of have to, well, I feel like viewing it from afar, that Paul has to weigh out the fact that for all that he's getting these wins against guys around him, there probably is that little step up in opponent when you fight the title holder or Yuri that may end up becoming that come May 7th. But the Anthony Smith fight, I'm sure Sean would like to see Paul Craig do what he did on Saturday to Anthony Smith. I don't think you'll have any withdrawals to that sort of match being made.
No. See, that's kind of what I mean. Like, I don't mind fighting someone else, but him fighting someone else. But like Anthony Smith, he's that step up. He's also contended for the title, So that's why I'm saying why not next? Because I'm not going by the rankings. That's just I don't go by them all the time, because it's just BS sometimes. It is. It's really just BS. What was it, like 30 minutes I spent talking about that? So I don't need to be faithful to the rankings. They're not mine. They're the UFC's. Like they're the UFC rankings, not mine at all. So I don't want to do my rankings. I thought about doing rankings, but no, it would be no. you don't want to see that. You're like, how this person's won one fight. I'm like, yeah, but I like him. I like this guy. It wouldn't make any sense. But I want to see some stuff that's a little bit more out of the ordinary, and I want people to see. Here's the thing: if there's a couple injuries or COVID, we're gonna get title shots like that anyway. And I don't like. Okay, for instance, the one time it happened, and it was great. T.J. Dillashaw. Remember when he fought for the title?
Yeah.
Now, see, what was he ranked? Where did he come from to even get that title shot? Right. And that's why we can do that. That's why that should be done. John Jones went up progressively. Yes, he did earn his title shot, but like you could have him fight a couple more people if we going by that. But why? It was the right time. I mean, I hate the guy, but yeah, it was the right time to give him the title shot because I would have even done it. I would have been like, yeah, it's time to see what this guy's made of. I mean, Dominic Reyes, it was the right time to give him that title shot. It really was. Shane Carwin, yes. Like it's you just got to go sometimes. This may not be that time. I'm just saying that's my logic behind giving someone who you would think, oh, well, they didn't earn. Well, you're not going to earn it. A lot of people, I think we discussed this too. A lot of people are saying, why is the Korean Zombie fighting for the title? And I'm like, what? Like, why not? Why not? Why isn't he? Why shouldn't he is what I'm saying. So, yeah, I don't see a problem with just I get people say, well, he's cutting the line. What line? What happened when the line disappears? That's what you'd get the same fight anyway. So I just say erase the line and just kind of put people in. AEW puts random matches together. How come I just can't randomly put a fight together? They're random anyway. Are they not?
They are at times random, yeah.
Right. Who cares? Yeah. Give him a title shot. I don't care. Well, if he wins, won't you be happy? If he loses, you'll be like, well, you have an excuse. That was too much too soon. Well, there you go. It was. I'm a man who has 5 children, 2 huskies. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. I just jump in the deep end sometimes. By the way, that analogy's crazy because I can't even swim.
Just the final thought.
I don't know how to swim.
No, you can't. I mean, to be honest, I wonder why Sean makes the decisions he does. He's just like he doesn't give himself a moment's peace. But
yeah.
A final word on Paul Craig. I think it's obviously biased towards me for the fact that he's a fellow Scotsman, and I feel like I honestly feel he doesn't quite get the recognition he deserves from a UK perspective. Obviously I'm not expecting the US to light him up and think, oh wow, what a fighter, and we love him and things, which some do, but I think just from a UK, I think the precedence is on Paddy, of course, and Darren Till and Tom Aspinall, and I think sort of Scottish MMA gets looked over at times, and Paul Craig is right up there. Probably for me, Paul Craig is the number one in the UK right now in terms of where he's at in the UFC. You've got Tom Aspinall, who's just fought Volkov, but before that hasn't had any wins inside the top 15. Darren Till, who's fought for a championship but really wasn't quite ready for it, and since then has had a bit of a tough stint up there, not really many wins of note. Whereas Paul Craig, he's been winning in the top 15 for a few years now, 4 in a row. Ankalaev, Jamal Hill, Nikita Krylov, Mauricio Hua. You know what I mean? Like that's a ridiculous run of performances, all by stoppage as well. He's not getting these. He's a fighter's fighter. He looks to entertain the crowd. I think he said today that on the MMA Hour that he doesn't. If he was to leave the octagon knowing that he just did enough to win rather than excite the crowd, then he'd feel unfulfilled. And I think that pretty much sums him up. I hope he does get that Anthony Smith fight in June. If not, a title shot would be amazing. We'll see where it goes for him. Absolutely incredible fighter, great guy, and all the best to him in the future.
I hope he destroys
yeah, I knew you would.
Jeez.
So, that was a great card, wasn't it, Sean? You've said it, I've said it. Just overall though, let me know just like what you're really looking forward to. Obviously, got WrestleMania in a couple of weeks as well. This is an MMA dominant show, isn't it? And sometimes we get clouded by things, but it's not just, we have to talk about UFC a lot because it's like we said before, they're the only ones that keep it consistent. You look this weekend. I don't believe there is a Bellator show this weekend. Eagle FC, and we also got the UFC Fight Night this weekend as well. But just give me things that you're probably looking forward to. Obviously, WrestleMania being, I'd say, the number one in terms of the next 2-week bracket, isn't it? It's coming very quickly, and I'm excited for it as well. Actually, you look at UFC schedule, it's quite good. And April 10th we'll obviously have UFC 273, which will be a great card as well. But just give me your thoughts on what you're really looking forward to in the next 2 weeks.
Well, like you said, WrestleMania, but this Saturday is not a bad card. UFC Fight Night, Blades versus
yeah, it's a pretty good card.
I can't say his last name. I probably could. I don't know. I lost the ability to pronounce names correctly.
Dawkins, that's it.
But I don't know. I don't know when it happened, but I think it's, I don't know, baby number 4 is gone. I just can't do certain stuff. But no, this card looks good because, oh man, Blachowicz was on there, huh? That fight got canceled. What happened with Blachowicz again?
Yeah, Jan. I think Jan suffered an injury. Did he? Let me just get that real quick. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know what the hell he was doing.
I think I'm sorry. Was it? Let me quick. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jan is the one that's had an injury.
Well, yeah, man, that's a big card if we're looking at it because it's a lot of. Okay, so yeah, you got Curtis Blades. That a win here, and you might start having to talk about him, getting a title shot. I don't like to talk about that because he probably doesn't deserve one ever again, ever. I mean, not ever again, but the champ is somebody who knocked him out twice, I think, or just at least knocked him out. He gets knocked out too much to be considered someone you put in a title fight. However, there's not a lot of people around, and I'm gonna be honest. Although he is very undeserving of it, I would at some point give him a title fight if he continues to win. It's just, it would be undeniable at some point, even for somebody who gets knocked out as much as he does by top level competition. But yeah, it's Olenek, Latifi. That's gonna be, oh man, that's gonna,
Yeah.
I just want to see some dudes just be in there, be big, beefy, and throw some some haymakers, man. I just want to see that, So this I think.
John, check this though. Alexei Olenek going for his 60th pro career win.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm looking at that. That's crazy.
That's ridiculous.
It's not gonna be easy against Latifi because Latifi's not gonna want history made on him. So, yeah, I just having that heavyweight fight. I would consider Blachowicz a heavyweight fight too, but I know he's yet light heavy, but just those heavyweight fights are gonna be pretty good for that card. I don't see the prelim card. Let me look at the prelim card, see who's on there. Jennifer Mai. See, that's, I almost cursed. That's not cool. Jennifer Maya being, I think she could be on the main card. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's because she's not fighting anybody, but Jennifer Myers, the main event.
The problem with this is that this card is really stacked for a fight night.
Look
at this. Curtis Blades, Chris Daukaus, of course, main event, heavyweights. Chris Daukaus, very.
Hold on. Sarah McMahon is on this card. When was the last time you heard that name?
Yeah, and
Jeez. Yeah. What are we talking about?
Michelle Watterson is
Yeah,
Watterson
let's
and
go
Amanda
on this
Rivas
card.
being cancelled, but
Like, you see what I mean? Like, they canceled some good fights, man. Like,
could you imagine if Jan Blachowicz and Alexander Rakic was on still? That would have those two as the main event. Co-main event would be Curtis Blades, Chris Daukaus. You'd have Joanne Calderwood, who's Scottish women flyweight, Alexa Grasso, Askar Askarov, Kai Kara France, which is pretty much a number one contender fight for the flyweight division. Matt Brown versus Brian Barberena, which will be an absolute slugfest. Ilir Latifi, Alexei Oleinik. Nate Landwehr versus David Onama, who had a recent knockout victory at the Apex, which was just ridiculous.
yes.
The prelims, you're right. I mean, Michelle Watterson, Amanda Rivas would probably headline that. Jennifer Maya, Neil Magny, Max Griffin.
Yeah, you see what I mean? I was like, Neil Magny.
Wow.
Hold on. I get it. But, man, come on. I think Neil Magny and Jennifer Meyer deserve to be on the main card. I mean, but it's whatever. Actually, sometimes you just got to have the strong. Maybe they said, no, we want you on the prelims to sell the rest of the card. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe, and I would do that. So maybe that's what they did here. But I just feel like they kind of, it's like, oh no, you're not that big, so we're just gonna put you here. I think they're kind of playing them a little bit, but that's okay. I'm looking forward to that because what else am I gonna do this Saturday? It's one of those dead zones. I'm not gonna watch. I like baseball, but early season baseball, like spring training, that's trash. And for people who like spring training baseball, shut up, you're trash too. Okay, I should stop talking to fans like that. But get out of here with it's March. I'm not watching baseball in March. You're crazy. You're ridiculous. I'll watch it in April, but that's in a couple weeks. So no. That card looks pretty good. That's something I could kind of, sip a little scotch to that. Watch Curtis Blades probably get knocked out again. And then had a conversation about why I hate myself for even thinking that at some point he would get a title shot. Yeah, man, that would be bad if he got knocked out.
Wow, we wouldn't want to see it as bad of a knockout. That was pretty scary the last time.
I kind of want him to get knocked out like that. He's a loudmouth clown, and I don't like him. So yeah, I kind of want to see him. Yeah, you can stretch him out. I don't care. Hey, look, this man is an adult. He chose to fight and get in that cage, and if he gets carried out on a stretcher or worse, he chose this. Okay, so like I don't want to see anybody die, but I mean, I want to see him severely injured. We're watching fighting. We're not good humans, okay? We're terrible people.
Roping other people for your views, brilliant.
You're right. Look, Anthony, I'm not fighting. I'm literally going to drink some alcohol and watch them beat each other. Hey, that's okay with me,
isn't it?
It is. That's what we're doing, though. I mean, I'm being crazy about it, but no, I do like I love how technical stuff can be sometimes, but
yeah,
there's more that goes into it. And the part that makes me not like him is he talks a lot and he's not backed it up when it was important. I say he gets knocked out a lot, but it's not actually a lot at all. It's just when he shouldn't. It's when he said he wouldn't, and he definitely shouldn't. He has 3 losses. That is it. Just 3 losses. They're all vicious knockouts by men who've either held the title or been in title shots. So, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm sorry about it. I'd love to see him get stretchered out. That's his fault. He talks too much. I'm not gonna stretch him out. I ain't got time for it. I got a baby girl on the way. But Daukaus,
yeah.
Yes, Daukaus. He fights, and he can outlive vicariously through him as he knocks out Curtis Blades.
Well, It is a great card. It really is for a fight night, following another great fight night, which we see at UFC London. Great 2 weeks potentially for the UFC, back-to-back fight nights with a lot of eyeballs on it. Following that will be UFC 273. Me and Sean will be talking about that and a lot more on the following episodes to come of the Weekend Warrior. This weekend, obviously, like we've said, a lot of good fights to look out for. I'm looking out for Askar Askarov, Kai Kara France, and Joanne Calderwood, Alexa Grasso. I think they're going to be great fights. And yeah, another episode in the books for me and Sean. Great talking to you, Sean. And we will see you guys next Monday for another episode. Have a good week. Enjoy the fights on Saturday and enjoy whatever else you guys get up to this week. Take care and stay safe, everyone.